In this presentation, we're going to show you how to log on to the Windows point of sale machine. So first you're going to hit the power button on the tower itself if the computer is not already turned on. Once Windows loads, you will come to a screen that looks very similar to this. On your keyboard, you're going to press Control, then Alt, then Delete, holding all of them down at the same time. Once you do so, you will be prompted to enter a password. Make sure that you are entering the password for the point of sale username. The point of sale username will always start with PKS and always end with POS. The middle letters will be an abbreviation for your park. If you do not know your park's username, here is a list. From here, you're going to enter your password. Occasionally, your screen may look like this. If this username on the left-hand side is not the point of sale username, you must click Other User. From there, you can enter your point of sale username. After we enter the password, you can either hit Enter on your keyboard or click the arrow. Windows will now load. When Windows loads, your email will also automatically open up.
Log in with your signed username and password. Remember, never share your username and password with anyone. Once you log in, you may be able to start a new session if you had closed out. Most times it'll be start a new session. This is new as well. If you are assigned to different parks, you may be assigned to different user groups. Examples of user groups that you might be assigned to are cashiers and toll cashiers. These are two separate user groups that have different type of screens. Just click the menu group if you are selected to several user groups. These obviously are not going to be assigned to everyone. Select the user group for what you are looking to do. So if I'm going to a toll booth, I would select toll booth cashier. If I'm working as a regular park cashier, I would select park cashiers and click continue. Once you log in, depending on your user group, you will be put into the primary screen for that user group. In this case, we selected Parks Cashier, which primary screen is the Global Sales Lookup screen. The Global Sales Lookup screen is where you can look up customers. You can scan green keys or you can search manually by entering their last name or address or email address or phone number. These are all the options you can search by to find a customer. In this case, we're going to do a customer's last name. Once highlighted, you would hit select. Some customers may have a tickler or a comment pop-up. This is for important information. You should always read the tickler box if it pops up. In this case, the resident has a household credit balance of $26. That means they have a credit of $26 that can be used for an item in the system. In addition, this has a dated comment or a tickler, as it's called in the system. And this is just a reminder that this is a test household. Some customers may have ticklers reminding them to send in documentations, or if there was an issue at a previous camping stay, to remind them to make sure that their dog is on the leash. But in any case, you should always really read a tickler when it pops up on the screen. Click OK to proceed. Now that you've selected the customer, you'll be prompted into the Global Sales primary screen tabs. As you can see on the screen, the Global Sales processing screen has several tabs. The Super Grid, which is where you'll find all your rental items, like campgrounds and marina slips. The touchscreen, which is where you sell green keys and permits. Current rental, which would be any current rentals for the customer you have selected in the family member search. Pass renewals, which would be any passes anybody in this household would have available for renewals or have purchased or expired. Purchase history is all the purchase history for this household account, and in process is anything that's in a cart. This is either in your cart or in another person's cart or in the customer's cart, and we'll talk about that later. Let's start with the Super Grid. Like we said, the Super Grid is where all your rental items are viewable. Rental items are campground campsites, as well as marina slips and hunting areas. Each Super Grid profile has a separate profile to be able to just sort down what type of rental areas you want to see. At this point, we have all rentals selected. You have a start date that you can select from a date picker to select a date you would like to see in your grid, as well as rental category is your different campgrounds. You do have access to view other campgrounds, but most campgrounds will just have to view their own campground Super Grid. Generally, you won't have to use other options for filters, but they are there available. But you should speak to your supervisor before using other filters for your Super Grid. If you scroll down, you'll see your Super Grid is all your different campsites. And if anybody has them reserved, you will see them in the Super Grid. Now, all of these are pending, but if somebody is checked in, they would be green. And if anybody's checked out, they'd be grayed out. As you can see, when you hover over each one of these reservations, the information in the box changes. This information is the information for that particular reservation. In this case, this is customer Palmieri. The household number is available to you, reservation number, as well as start and begin dates, as well as a contact phone number if needed. From here is where you would also process camping walk-ups. By selecting under the day and double-clicking, you can actually add a camping walk-up. You would select the start date would be today, and you would select an end date, and you would hit add to cart. At this point, you would select which person in the household is going to be reserving the campsite. This is a test account, so you do see a lot of people. Normal family member selection is only 1 or 2 people, but you can select the person, hit continue, and then you'll be prompted to a answer history screen. This is just a quick way to answer questions instead of having to type them every time. This is new to this season. So when you see this, you can select and see what answers they've used. This is for all this family's answers in the previous transactions for rental items. So you've seen they've been to Blydenburg and Montauk. I could highlight up here and hit select answers, and all this does is put those answers into this answer. As you can see, some of them were not answered last time, so now you could answer yourself and just type in anything that you need to type in to update. Please make sure that all questions are answered properly. As you can see, after I answered the questions, my reservation went into my shopping cart. You can now continue to process other transactions or finalize the transactions. Let's move on to the touch screen. The touch screen is where you sell your green keys, your permits, your camping fees, and your marina fees. As you can see, when you hover over each one of these buttons, it tells you what it is. By selecting the person in the family selection group and selecting a button, I can then sell them a permit. The membership details, begin date and expiration date, autofill for the number of years that particular pass is good for. In this case, it's good for 3 years. You would click continue. You would answer the proof questions. This is saying that the first proof I reviewed and the customer provided was a New York State driver's license. And let's say the second one was a DMV registration or vehicle registration. You would click continue. And now that green key is in my cart. Moving on to the permit screen. Here you'll also see that hovering over each icon, you can see what that particular permit is. Most of the icons are pretty self-explanatory, like the Outer Beach is an SUV vehicle, the Night Fisherman is a little moon and a fish. But if you are unsure, you can always hover over these buttons and it will let you know. Each one of these buttons, if they have certain questions that needs to be answered, just like the green key, once you select it, it will prompt you with the questions to be asked. Always make sure to fill out every question the system prompts you. Let's move on to the camping fees. This is where you would charge a third car parking or additional car for some of the campgrounds that provide that. Anybody that's coming to use the dump station that is not camping would have to pay a dump station fee. And these deposits are for the group camping. If you do process group camping, there'll be a video for how to process group camping as well. So look at that. Let's move on to marinas. Most of you will not be doing marinas, just wanted to show you. Not everyone will have that, but anybody that processes, this is where they process the marina, the wait list, as well as the gas station fees. And now we're going to move on to current rentals. Again, this would show any current rentals, either current in use or pending for this specific customer, family, the whole entire account. So this customer does not have any current rentals, but if they did, they would be viewable in this tab. Past renewals. This is every green key that has ever been purchased under this household account for any of these people. You can also sort, just like in Excel, by clicking the top of the columns. And you could also check if you just wanted the active ones. You would select active, and now it will sort with just the active passes. As spoken before about, the purchase history is anything that this household account has purchased in the past. Again, similar to the other screens, you can sort as well as select different statuses as anything that was canceled if somebody asked you about a canceled transaction, or if you're looking for anybody that has a future green key, you would see that in this if you wanted to sort it by any future statuses. To clear the statuses, it's pretty easy. You click on options and you can clear filters. This, if any case you don't see what you're looking for, always come here and hit clear filters to kind of clear that all out so that you're looking at everything. The In Process tab would show anything that is in either your shopping cart or the customer's shopping cart or another cashier's cart. Once it's in someone's cart, nobody else can process it. This is this system's way to make sure that there's not duplication of transactions. So if somebody is calling you and they're having trouble with a campground reservation, a lot of times we check the in process. We can actually knock it out of someone's cart by clicking End Selected Selections. Again, not everybody would do this, but this is somebody that may be assisting a customer in troubleshooting. Let's just go over some global sales lookup tips. Again, the global sale lookup allows you to look up people by address, email, particular family member last name, household number, which is printed on the back of the green key, organization name like a camping group, phone number, reservation number, and team name, and that's usually used for golf, which you guys don't use as often. Within this screen, you could add new households. After searching and making sure a household account does not already exist, you could click here and add a new household account. Please keep in mind, every household account is based on a physical address, so anybody living at the same house would have to be under the same account, with very few exceptions. So all the people that live at 56 Chestnut Lane would all be under the same household account. As you scroll down, you'll see there's a skip button. This allows you to move on to the global sales tabs without selecting a particular customer. There's times that you just want to look at your super grid that you're not processing a transaction. So you would go down to skip and skip household lookup. Now, as you can see, we're in the super grid tab, but no household has been selected. So now we're just in here with no household selected. If I did double click, say the Barbara DeVecchio, was checking in and I double clicked on her, I could then check her in, or I can cancel it if I didn't mean to, if I was just double checking the dates. I could hit cancel. Now we see what it did was that now selected that customer account here. So I can now process her check-in if needed. If you didn't mean to do that and you double click, that's okay. All you have to do here is you can then go household reset, again go back, skip household lookup, and now you'll be right back where you to the super grid. Okay, let's move on how to add a new household account. All right, so first we have to do our check. And maybe we're looking for somebody called John Smith. Their last name is John Smith. They say they don't have an account, but we always want to double check. So I'm going to look for anybody with the last name Smith. From here, I can also look for the first name John. If I hit enter, you'll see that this filter is saying anything that contains the name John, and I already have a filter of Smith. And I scroll down, and I'm looking for somebody on Oak Street. They live on Oak Street, and you could put the full address or partial contains, and we can see that we don't have any John Smiths that live on Oak Street. I could take that out again, and I could verify, and you could sort it by alphabetical numerical order. And I'm scrolling through, and there's no John Smiths at 62 Oak Street in Mauritius. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've verified that there is no current account that exists, I'm going to click Add. And when you go into Add, you're going to see some fields in red. Fields in red are required. So now I'm going to fill it out. And what you're going to see is you're going to put in the zip code. And as you start typing the zip code, you'll see that based on the zip code, you'll get a list of cities. Please make sure that you are selecting the correct city and not just the first one on the list. So maybe John Smith lives in Shirley. So 11967 is Shirley. I'm going to click Shirley here. I'm going to pick 62 Oak Street. And again, Shirley's filled out. And what this does is this is going to automatically fill my category up here when I click Save. I'm going to go in, and remember, email is required. This is because this is how we reset passwords. This is how people log on, they pay. This is how they make reservations. We do not spam mail, and we do not sell their information. So please assure them that they give us the email. It will only be used for work purposes, for their information, for their reservations and their transactions. Birthday as well is required. You would just scroll through and select their birth date here. Okay, it also tells you your date, that autofills, and you would click Save. And now John Smith has their own account number, and then you would go in and you would search them, select them on the screen, and proceed with whatever transactions that they came in to visit you for.